Okay, how come nobody told me about these in Nutrips? Somebody's been gatekeeping information, and now I found out. Don't take these if you don't want to be in good focus, if you don't want to sleep well, if you don't want good gut health, if you don't want to be in a good mood, and if you don't want a lot of energy. That's what these are. These are the sugar-free Nutrip gummy bears. Just take one of these, the snack pack, and you'll have all those. Who's been holding back this information? Now you know. Click the link down below, get the discount. Don't sleep on these Nutrips. Hi, everyone, and welcome to One Mic Night, the podcast that brings you stories of artists and people on their journey, helping to guide, answer questions, and motivate you in life and the business. You already know who I am. It's Marcos Luis, and I'm back. We're season 6 still. We're 19 years of One Mic Night, so thank you all for being along with me on this journey. I can't thank you enough. Today, my guest is incredible. I can't tell you how excited I am to have her here. Her name is Kecia Johnson. Kecia Johnson.
It's okay. It's okay.
I'm excited to have her here. She's a cancer warrior. She's an HIV advocate. She's a female empowerer. She's a lot of things. So please welcome her to the show.
Thank you for having me. I've been waiting for this, though.
So have I.
Because, we have to reschedule.
I know, but listen,
I've been waiting for this.
Let me tell you, because we'll get to that later. But First of all, I have questions.
Oh, Paul, and I'm here to answer.
The first question is, who is Kecia Johnson?
Man, Kecia J is literally such a fierce overcomer, right? And I didn't realize how strong I was until after cancer. I battled cancer. I was diagnosed August 6, 2020. And that journey, I thought I was strong. You know how you walk through life and you're like, oh yeah, girl, I got this. I'm strong. I've been through this. Cancer was like, yeah, you're not that strong. I'm about to test you.
Wow.
And me fighting through cancer, because cancer, when people hear it, it's scary, and it takes over your body, but it does a whole nother volcano number on your mind. And you mentally have to find a way to come back because you lose yourself. And I lost myself, or was on a verge of losing myself with cancer, because my mind was tired of fighting, not being a woman living with AIDS since 2006, going on my 20th year next year. You fight stigma and stuff all day, right?
Wow. Yeah.
And so you still are, even though you're undetectable, untransmittable, all those good things, your body is still fighting in a sense. So when I navigated cancer, my body was over fighting. I was like, I'm over this. This is too much. So who is Kecia? And the fiercest overcomer you will ever meet.
Absolutely. That's the warrior part. I want to back it up just a little bit. Where'd you grow up?
Believe it or not, I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Milwaukee? Okay.
Yes.
I know a little bit about Milwaukee. I spent some time in Chicago. I was there for 10 years.
Okay. Yeah, that's right up the street.
Right up the street. Right around the corner.
Yes. Every time I say I'm from Wisconsin, people are like, so there's Black people in Wisconsin? Yes. In Milwaukee. Yeah. Yes, there are.
How was Milwaukee for you?
So I grew up I won't say different, right? Because there's parts of Milwaukee that are really rough. However, I grew up and I went to a Lutheran school. Like we went to church on Wednesdays. And then after I left the Lutheran school, I went to Brown Deer, which at that time was predominantly white.
Mm.
So I grew up, with my grandparents in the house. I grew up in like a full life, and Milwaukee was just different. Once I went from Milwaukee, and then I left Milwaukee when I was like 12 and went to Houston. It was definitely not a culture shock for me, but it was just different.
Yeah.
You lived in Chicago. The
Right.
Midwest is a bit faster
Right. Yeah.
than the South. So when I got to the South when I was 12, I was like, what world is this?
Right. Yeah.
But then I just had to adapt. So going from Milwaukee to Houston was definitely a different type of adaptation I had to get with.
Yeah, for sure. I know what you mean. I grew up in the South. I was born in the South, and then I went away to boarding school. So going to
Whoa.
boarding school, going from the
Okay.
South, where I had my mom, my parents were divorced, my mother, family, and then going to a boarding school where it was just me and my mother and my older sister.
Yeah.
That was a bit of a culture shock too, because
Yeah.
you're learning you're no longer in a all black environment or predominantly black environment, and you're having to deal with other, ethnicities and cultures and learning, which is a good
Yes.
thing, in my opinion, because it prepares you for the
Yes.
rest of the world. So I got that early.
Yes.
You got it early too.
Early,
Yeah.
early. And some people are like, well, you weren't around your people. I was, but then I wasn't, right? But
Right.
so I got a mix,
A mix.
you
Yeah.
know?
Hmm.
Um, and even to this day, I have nothing against HBCUs. It's an incredible experience. But I also feel like how I navigated prepared me for the real world, the
Yes.
both.
Yeah.
Because the real world is a multitudes of
Yeah.
people, not just one. So
Interesting. Um, where did I want to fast forward because I know you're a woman with a lot of story.
yeah,
So I might want to
yeah,
jump around
a
just a little
lot.
bit. So you were diagnosed in 2006 with
Yes,
HIV. What was
yes.
the impact on that, and how did you feel at that time?
So I was diagnosed with AIDS, actually. So
AIDS. Okay.
the difference is the T cell count, right?
Right.
So I try to explain to people anything below 200. If they say, hey, your T cells are low, you have 100, it's automatically an AIDS diagnosis. It's just basically generalized T cell difference, right? So when your T cells are low, that means you're open to getting foreign viruses and diseases. And I had PCP pneumonia, which is one of the harshest pneumonias with the lungs. So at that time, I had 2 T cells, and a normal healthy person has anywhere from 1,200 to 1,400 to 1,600 T cells, and I had 2. So I don't think I processed. So when she told me, I was just she was speaking to me as if I knew I had it
Mm,
because my T cells were so low. She was like, well, yeah, so AIDS. And I was just like, wait, what?
yeah.
And I had to say, can you say that again? And it moved kind of fast after that. After that, the health department comes in, you have to write all your partners down. They make you comb through to see, well, when did these symptoms start? When did this start? And you have to sign some papers and so on and so forth. So it kind of rolled really quick. And I didn't tell people right away. And it didn't have to do with shame. It
Hmm.
had more to do with, if I go and tell people now, fresh out the hospital, how I look, they're going to immediately think death, because that's what people equate AIDS to.
Right.
It's death.
Hmm.
So I ended up at that time, I'll never forget, I had, good insurance at the time as a college student. I had United Healthcare, and it was the Dr. Ong in Houston, Texas. And it was somewhat of a clinical trial. One of the pills they were testing, and I was a part of it. And the pills were so harsh, like I could feel them ripping through my body. However, it got me undetectable in like 90 days. And my T cells were up back in the 200s, 300s ish.
Wow.
And even though internally it was tearing me up, I would be able to go in front of people and you would know the difference. It just kind of looked like I was working out. You know, they didn't really know. So, and I was
Did
like,
you have
okay,
a drastic physical change to
I
your
did.
body? Like when you,
Yeah, I
okay.
did. I lost a lot of weight.
Okay.
Because what happens when you do have the AIDS virus, you go through a stage of wasting where your body wastes away. And so I was in that stage. So I did lose weight. However, people just looked at it as, oh, she was losing weight. And two, I didn't go around a lot of people until, I was, a little bit more full in the face. And so at that time I was like, okay, yeah, I can't really tell people what it is because it's gonna be a pity party or they're gonna think death. And nobody has time for that. So then once I kind of got myself back strong, I got my legs strengthened a bit because, I had lost muscle mass in my legs and my body. I was like, okay, once I learn how to cope with it and once I educate myself more on like how to live life with it, then I can tell people. And that's what ended up happening. I probably, if I was diagnosed in 06, I didn't tell people till like mid 07. I mean, when I say people, it's like my best friend, my god brother, and they both cried. So I was like, okay, Kecia, you really got to really, 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 really be strong in this because if you break, they're going to break. If you look like you're falling apart, they are. You have to come to them with confidence of what this thing is and how you can live. And
Absolutely.
so,
Yeah.
and that's how I moved forward with it.
And also the knowledge, because I think, a lot of times people, listen, I'm a man of a certain age. So I remember a
Yes,
time when people were just dropping dead, you know,
yes, yes,
and there was no way to help anyone. I mean,
yeah,
people were taking
yeah,
these cocktails, that you would read about. It would be like all these medicines. I remember being in Chicago and going to an exhibit at a museum where there was a man laying in the bed and he was surrounded by just the room was full of pills. And
really,
it was to signify what AIDS was at that time.
yeah,
I was
yeah,
devastated. I didn't know, like it really took me by surprise.
yeah,
But that was the thought that everyone had because people were taking so many, I guess they're calling cocktails, right? They were taking so many
yes,
of their cocktails at the time. And that's what it was. It was kind of like a death sentence. It was sort of a thing where
yeah,
nobody knew what it was and,
yeah,
much about it. That was, I guess, in the 80s, maybe late
yeah,
80s, right?
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so by 2006, you're at a place where medicine had advanced a bit.
yeah. It did, and I was still doing 14 pills in the morning, 14 at night.
Wow.
Yeah. And it
Wow.
was because what people don't understand is my body was like I had two T cells. At that point, you're Skeletor, right? So
Mm,
it's not just your cocktail. They have to put you on Bactrim, a Z-Pack, azithromycin. They have to put you on all these things to basically get rid of all the things that's making your body not be able to fight on the inside. So that's where all of the medications come.
wow. Yeah, that's a lot. Wow.
Yeah.
Whew. Um, and so how do you, on a day-to-day basis, how do you get through it? Because like you said, it took you to
Mhm.
2007 to even tell your friends.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
that has
It
to have
did.
some sort of emotional, first of all, to find out you got about two T cells left.
Yeah.
That's got
Yeah.
to be devastating in itself.
Yeah.
But how do you then get, to a place where you can get up and go, like emotionally, your mind just says, "Listen, I got to keep going."
And so I've always been this person to where like I'm in some sort of competition with myself, right? And I had just gotten out of a horrible relationship. And he was in the music industry and he kind of tap danced on my self-esteem as a woman. And I fell into like a mental depression, a mental some of everything because he took me through so much in terms of just other women, just disappearing acts, sleeping with other women, all types of foolishness and shenanigans. And I was a college student, I was only
Mm,
21.
mhm.
And so it was finding out it was tough because I was going through a thing of getting out of something with him, and he did a smear campaign on my name that me getting diagnosed didn't help that, that narrative that he was pushing. So I was just like, really? So this is where we are, right? So I have to deal with this, deal with everybody talking about me like a dog. And then I still have to show up as a woman, still have to heal myself on the inside. And it wasn't until Houston, my insurance changed. I was United Healthcare, thinking I was, okay, I could keep this, cute, go to the nice doctors. And then that got stripped. Ooh. And I had to go to the clinics.
The clinics, wow.
Yes, and I remember having to find a way to get my meds because nobody knew. So I started researching in Houston, and the Hacks clinic came up. I ended up going, and it was like this clinic ducked off, off of 610 in LA and Houston. And I was just like, what shack is this am I going to? And in that moment, it sunk in like, girl, this is real.
Yeah, yeah.
You got the virus.
Right.
And then I was met with, introduced at that time to a trans woman, and she was like, you're in the right place. I said, but am I? And she just literally, I thought I was going to cry, but I couldn't cry.
Yeah.
I thought I was, but I couldn't. It was like, I just could not cry. And I remember after I saw Dr. Garza, I looked on the door, and it said Sisters, and it said Kirby Gray. And I ended up calling this number on the wall, and it was a support group for women with HIV. And it was a guy who was over it. And what ended up happening was I met him at a cafe, like in Midtown Houston. And I didn't know who this man was, but I like tears started streaming down, and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to process and put this together. I said, I remember saying, I'm too pretty for this. Like, and he was like, what?
You're like, what?
He was like, what? He was just like, what, man? What are you? And I was just like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And I was like, I have to get this out. I have to get this out. And he was like, well, my ex-wife, Dina Gray, is a known advocate in the city, and I married her. She was positive. And I was like, really? He was like, we're divorced, but she's heavily in advocacy. And he was like, there's an event going on, and if you want to tell your story, I will call the people so you can tell your story. And he called those people at that health fair, which was at a high school, and it
so the guy, you said you're too pretty for this.
Yes. And I was like, I'm too pretty for this. How is this going to happen? And he ended up connecting me at, Kashmir High School in Houston. And it was a health fair. And all the radio stations were there. Doctors were there. And I come in, hair blowing in the wind, handbags, stilettos, doo-doo-doo. And the kids were just hype, and I'm just dancing with them. And they was just screaming all the lyrics to this song. I couldn't even remember what it was. And when it was my time to talk, I said, it's so wonderful how you know the words to these songs, but you don't know that the person in front of you has AIDS. The whole room got quiet.
Wow.
And I just kind of let them know, like, yes, just like the lyrics to a song, you need to know what your health is as well. And after that, the people that came up to me, the kids that came up to me, and they were like, so you have AIDS? Like, you don't look like it. And from that moment, I was like, okay, I got to keep this going. Because the people really, and when I say the people, I mean our people really, really associated with you got to look like something to have something. And that's not the case.
What do you want people to know about it? Like, there's so much stigma around having HIV, having AIDS. What do you want people to know about it?
It's so I put a comment under TMZ. Anytime I see anything about HIV/AIDS, I always comment, because I'm like, y'all are just, where are y'all at? What year are y'all in? And the amount of feedback, and this has always happened, when I go on social media and I reply, people always come to my page and they'll be like, you have AIDS? what? You're this? You're
Mm-hmm.
that? You have a child and she's healthy? And I'd be like, we are not in 2025.
That's right. Give us a couple of facts that people need to know about
Like,
it.
well, first of all, undetectable equals untransmittable. If you happen to meet someone, say for instance, you fall in love with someone, you guys decide to go get tested and they're positive. If they're undetectable, they cannot transmit it to you or a child that they're pregnant with, or they just can't. And that has been proven with my almost 7-year-old who's
Mm-hmm.
negative, right? And I had a vaginal birth, right? I didn't have to have a C-section, any of those things. It's not just possible, it's a fact. So
Yes.
that's the main thing.
The main thing. Yeah.
Two, just because a person is tested positive does not make them a hoe, a homewrecker, prostitute, all the things. The numbers skyrocket the most, and I will tell you, in the elderly community and women who are in monogamous relationships and marriages. The issue is we have a lot of people not living their truth, whatever that
Mm-hmm.
may be,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Either not saying that they have it or saying that they like the same sex and then, living a life with a woman. It's so many other things to this. Then we do have men who have either went to prison, come home, live another life. They get with a woman. They don't talk about what they did. And it's just so many different aspects of it that I think people are just stuck on the, if you have it, then you're dirty.
Right.
If you have it, then you're dead. If you have it, then you can't get married or you can't. That is so far
Right.
from the truth.
Because if that was the case, I mean, if you got chlamydia, if you got herpes, if you got any of those things,
Right.
it would be the same thing, the equivalent to that.
Right.
If you're
Right.
thinking you're so promiscuous sexually, it would be the same thing. But as you
Right.
stated, there's, the fact is that if you're undetectable, you cannot transmit it. So
No.
the fear that people have about it needs to be dismissed. You need to educate yourself on this subject. You're not going to get it after drinking a glass of water from somebody.
There we go. And
Or
that's a thing too.
right.
I've heard there was a article, the man threw HIV blood at nurses, and not saying it's right.
Mm-hmm.
But if we knew facts, we would know that the virus can't even survive in air.
There you
It
go.
can't even
Yeah.
live. The moment it gets a crack or a seep, a millisecond of air, it's dead.
See,
But
this is information to me. This is how we
but
do. You have to educate people
you
through
have
conversation.
to.
Yeah.
You have to. And the stigma lies in just because people, if it doesn't apply, let it fly. Girl, I ain't got it.
Yeah.
I've been with my man for 15 years.
Right.
I've been married for 20. Whatever. Who cares? I would rather not know than know. Like, that's really where we are.
Right.
In the world. So when people meet someone like me or they see me commenting, or they just know, some of our pioneers like Ray Lewis Thornton, who was the first lady on Essence telling her story, or Hydea Broadbent, who, recently passed away. She was the first kid we saw on Oprah talking about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
those are situations that they're blessed and they're amazing and there are pioneers, but there are a lot of people who are regular, schmegular people who need the meat and potatoes of the information and they're not getting it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They're not getting it. And it's because, and I'm just, and as a advocate and a global one who's been doing it for almost 20 years, advocates in the world of the people who educate, we tend to talk to each other, not talk to the people.
To the people. What do you think we can do differently to help everyone understand? Because I think right now we're at a point, and I go back to what I said earlier, we're at a point where modern medicine has advanced so much where people are taking, these pills beforehand, like to keep them from getting HIV, and people feel fearless against it instead of actually taking care of their body or talking to their partner beforehand and finding out and getting tested and using protection and all these other things.
Yeah.
And we know accidents happen. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that accidents don't
Yeah.
happen,
Yes.
but we certainly need education in this field, as we do in all fields.
Yes. Yes.
But what do you think we should do? Should we have classes in school? Should we have, what kind of
So
resources can we use?
the issue is, my foundation is launching in December, and one of my pivotal things is stigma based
Mm,
education, right? We know of prep, right? But the people who, as a Black and brown individual, we struggle with taking vitamins.
hmm
Okay. We struggle with doing the things that we don't have to do, but it's helpful to our bodies, right?
hmm
So to get a heterosexual male, woman, whatever, what have you, to take prep when it doesn't apply to them and they feel like they don't have to, it's kind of redundant,
Yeah.
right? And we know prep is mostly, from what we see, shopped to the LGBTQIA community,
hmm
right? Problem with that is the numbers are spiked on the other side. So we have to get to the root of that. The root of that is generational stigma. My grandma told me, don't tell my business. Stop talking about it. You're dirty. We were taught not to bring babies home, not STDs, right?
Right.
And I'm
Yeah.
saying as a culture.
hmm
So we can't say we need to teach them in high school about STDs, but then at home, the parents are getting mad that they're even talking about sex at high school. Meanwhile, your child been having sex behind the tree since 10,
In the
right?
stairway, everywhere else. Yeah.
Yeah,
hmm
because,
Yeah.
or they're having full blown adult conversations on Snapchat. The
Right.
world is different now.
A
So
lot
we
different.
have to meet a lot different. We have to meet people where they are, and it's stigma based. That goes with having conversations that are outside of just HIV/AIDS, right? Talking to young girls about how they feel as an individual amongst a bunch of different girls that are fighting you to look a certain way, to wear certain things, right? Because we do know that lack of self-esteem causes you to make certain decisions that you typically wouldn't make,
Absolutely.
right? Or
Absolutely.
they may be at home. They may be at home and they saw their mom be with a man who wasn't that great, or they saw grandma get hit. It's a generational cycle
Generational.
of things we have to talk about first
hmm
before we be like, yeah,
And the question is,
HIV
when
is,
does it start? When does it start?
and you
You know
know
what I
why?
mean?
And I'm gonna tell you, it doesn't start because, and I hate to put it like this, but I went to the United States Conference of HIV/AIDS like 2 years ago, and I was an ambassador for it. And it was almost like my blinders, they were up, but my blinders got completely open to, they don't want us to start to do it
Mm,
because it would change some things. They want us to be at these, conferences, just, making it seem like we've made so much progress. And we
progress. Yep.
have.
hmm
We have. But where it with a number, if we've made progress, Houston and Atlanta wouldn't be worse than they were 10 years ago. And I've been
Right.
telling this story about Houston and Atlanta since 2007.
That's right.
This isn't anything new. This has been happening, right? But now it's all up in an uproar because TikTok is saying everybody's getting AIDS in Houston.
Right.
They've been testing positive. They've
Yeah.
been testing positive in
Right.
Atlanta. This is nothing new. It's just social media is perpetuating it to create this narrative of this big fearful thing, but we don't magnify the education and we don't get to the root. So we would rather just be like this advocate and put this commercial up and Cabernuva and this. They would rather do all of that to make, it appear as if we're making so much progress. But the places, people, and things that need to hear it the most don't hear it.
Don't hear it. I don't know, I don't know if they still have sex education classes in school, but they definitely need them. They need to be
Oh
talking
yeah.
about this stuff in school. And, the shame and the fear from our culture, it shouldn't be there.
It's
It
hard.
shouldn't be there. We need to
It's
talk about these things. We need to find
hard.
solutions. We need to, find people, advocates who can go to schools and talk to these kids and let them know, to take care of themselves. and
Yeah.
what to look out for. I think we're at a point too where we're at, in media, you have over sexualized music, over sexualized
Oh,
videos,
for sure.
sexual fluidity, like all these things that are causing people to want to have sex carelessly, and this is, this is part of the problem. It's part of the problem. It's part of the problem.
And as a woman who's raising a daughter, and my daughter is on the spectrum, she's autistic, but still, I almost thank God for her quirkiness and her difference, because the girls now, they just want to be everything so fast, so like it's just like,
Yep.
I would at seventh, like I wasn't doing all of this at
Right.
sixth, seventh grade. Like this
Right.
is such a different world, which means now more than ever, the conversations have to be had.
Yep. If you're 14, you're actually 22.
Yeah.
You're already yep, you're already there. You are
Yeah.
already there.
Yes. And not even more so, you're already there. They just they have more media and
Yeah.
tools and electronics than we did.
Right.
We just,
Absolutely.
when you're going through a breakup, when I was going through my breakup, all I had was my little Nokia phone and my tears and the walls. Now, girls are losing their mind. They're telling on TikTok, they're this, and they're wanting to take their life because something didn't work out with a guy.
Right.
It's totally different. So we have to get to those root issues before we can really see numbers decrease like they can.
Absolutely. And I think, this country has gone through a modernization that
Yes.
has, it's been traumatic for people in
Yes,
so
it
many
has.
ways. We've
It
all
has.
gone through, everyone's gone through trauma in this country. Not only I feel like with the regression of, our political stance and diversity and equity and all these other things, just the resurgence of our own history and learning those things and knowing where we came from. Like feels like a whole big hurricane of stuff that
It
needs to
is.
be addressed. It
It's a
really needs to
hurricane.
be addressed. And I
But
feel,
yeah,
I was just going to say, I feel like, back to what we were saying, kids need some sort of, I'm a big mental health advocate. I talk about a lot on the show here, but kids need that in school.
they do.
And
They
I
do.
wish that all the kids could have either a group therapy session discussion where they have an hour or 30 minutes where the group can talk, or one-on-one or two people or something where they can talk about things that are going on in their lives and help shape their minds in a way that make them productive and ease some of the trauma that they're going through.
Yeah. Yeah. And sex is also used as a escape tool,
Escape. Yes,
right?
it is.
And so we have to get into that. We
Yeah.
have to talk to these kids about it. We have to, be transparent. I think a lot of times as parents, you want to shield from your kid instead of keeping it all the way real and
Right.
authentic,
Yeah.
when they probably know more than what you think they know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so those are our root causes. And our parents can only do what they were taught, and then that generation was taught not to say anything.
That's right. That's
And
exactly
so
right.
if you don't stop it and say, okay, wait a minute, let's focus on our young kids' mental health and act like, oh, well, you don't have a choice. You can't feel because I pay the bit. No, they can feel,
They
right?
can.
Because if you don't talk to them about how they're feeling, that can come out and manifest into sexual activity, that can manifest into, getting into trafficking because they put their feelings into someone who takes it and manipulates it.
Right.
So all of those things are root issues. Then that's how the disease festers, because now this young girl is caught in a trafficking situation and forced to sleep with people. It's a root. It's a root, and it just grows. So we have to have those difficult conversations instead of you worried about, oh my God, she spit on me and she has AIDS. That's the
The
least
least. Yeah.
your worries.
Absolutely. Yeah, getting that information is, we can do that. That's the least of it. But the rest of
Yeah.
it is what we need to take care of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, we have to.
I want to come back to this at another time because I want to invite you back on the show. But I want to
Yeah.
talk. I want to talk briefly about the rest of your advocacy and your author and all these
Yes.
things. So you have a couple books that you've written.
Yes.
What are the nature of the books?
Yes. So I've written 7 books. My first book was Dying to Be Diva. And everybody, when they hear that title, they're like, what? And so when I was growing up, that's the name that, people gave me because of how I carry myself. I was just kind of very quiet, poised. And so they would just call me Diva. And almost to a fault, right? So by the time I got to the space of having, HIV, it was almost like it was used against me that
Mm.
I was this diva-esque type of person. So then I flipped it with the title and I used diva as doing it victoriously alone. Because when I found out about my virus, I was alone.
Oh,
None of
wow.
y'all was with me. I had to navigate that on my own. So it's telling the story about how I navigated mental health issues, suffering from severe anxiety, imposter syndrome in my younger age to high school, and how that translated and grew into something in a relationship that caused me to put trust and emotion into something that was not right for me.
Mm.
Which then then the disease came. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah, yeah.
it talks about all of my roots, how my roots turned into this story of this girl who thought pretty was going to save her, and it did nothing because internally some mechanics were off.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that's a
yeah,
lot. That's a
yeah,
lot.
yeah. It's a
And
lot. And then
so, mhm.
then I wrote My Cancer Could Never, and that's the recent book, which 2 years ago, and I was just talking about my journey of navigating divorce and all of it with cancer. It's like cancer, like another light in my life came on, like, okay, you gotta live. If you get over this hump of stage 4 cancer as a woman with AIDS, you have to do exactly what God is telling you to do. And it really navigates all of the thoughts I was paying, the pain I was in, the conversations I had with God, and why I chose to fight through. Because a lot of people are like, how? And it was just all God, how I fought through cancer. I don't know. I still look at it back then and I'm like, oh, that was crazy. That was a crazy journey. But I wanted to write it so people can know that replace cancer could never with lupus could never, HIV could never, like replace it and be like, it can never stop you from doing what you're put here to do. If
But
you're
not
put here to
everyone's
go and
mind
remove,
is that strong, and that's the
no,
thing,
no.
and people, that's what people want to know from you is like, where did you find that strength? Did you sit in a room alone and like go through it? Like we
Yeah.
really have to. You have to.
Yeah, and I'm the only child, so all I had was my thoughts,
Hmm.
right? And I think I wanted so bad to show people, and that was the fleshly part. God was like, you got to replace with doing your assignment. I wanted to show people so bad that you can have the worst of the worst of the worst of the worst. Because me, I've had all the things that's stereotypical wise can happen to you has
Yeah.
happened to me.
Right.
However, I've also had some incredible opportunities, despite all of that, right? So I've always wanted to just show people, and it was almost like God is like totally reforming me and making sure I don't ever look like what I've been through. I tell people now I had stage 4 cancer with AIDS, and they either think I'm lying or they're like, yeah, girl, whatever, it wasn't that serious. And it really was.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what keeps me, is that fight in a room by myself when nobody else is looking.
Right.
I'm like, I gotta fight through this because
Hmm.
somebody needs to see this.
And that you're here for a reason. There's a
Yes,
reason why you're still here. There's a
yes,
reason why
yes,
you're still here.
yes.
You
Reason
know?
and assignment, right?
Hmm.
When you start walking in your assignment, it's so many things that you will get over the hump of
Right.
when you're doing your assignment. And
See,
so, yeah.
that's it. Like people want to know, how do I find my purpose? How do I? Well, one thing is that you create your purpose. A lot of people create their purpose out of the trauma that they've experienced. That's where your purpose comes from. That's where it comes from. That's when you start living your best life, is because you know you're doing what your assignment is.
That's your assignment.
Right?
That's your assignment. And your assignment is something that gives you this sense of peace. And you can do it all day for free.
Yes.
But because it's your assignment, the money, the whatever it is you need,
everything else is going to come. Yep.
Just because. Yep.
Yeah.
It's not going to be forced.
Mm-mm.
It's not going to be forced.
I don't know about you, Kecia. I don't know. Your vibration is so high. Listen, sadly, I have to end this here now, but I have so much more to talk to you about. I really, really, really wanted you to come back, and we have so much more to talk about. Let everybody know where they can find your books, first of all.
Yes. Well, you can find my book. Listen, you can go to Google and type in Dying to Be Diva. It's on Amazon. You can type in Cancer Could Never, and that's on Amazon as well. That's on Barnes & Noble. I have a children's book for autism. Accidentally muted it. It's called sensational. It's called Sensational Sensory in Me. It's about me finding out that my daughter is autistic and navigating sensory issues. All of that is, you go to Google. It's online, Barnes & Noble, Amazon. But if you really want to follow me, go to my Instagram at I am Kecia J, and you pretty much can keep up with everything that I'm going on, from my foundation link that's launching on World AIDS Day. Everything is on social media.
Look at you. Look at you. If you look back from where you are right now, you look back, would you ever think that you were here?
No.
Would be here?
No.
Doing this?
No.
Talking to the one and only Barcos Luis.
Right, the one and only. I knew, and everybody knew I was going to do something on the platform, because I love to speak. Speaking is my passion. I can speak to a room of 1 million people and not feel not a form of anxiety. And just, that's just my thing. That's what God has put me here to do, is to speak to people, and speak to people in a way that nobody else can. And I knew I was going to be doing it, but not in this magnitude, though. You could have never told me this. You could have never told 12-year-old Kecia I would be doing this, at 41. And doing it looking so pretty.
Exactly. Looking like a Millie.
So pretty. And, looking so pretty.
That's right. And I love this, because you got to embrace this. You have to embrace this. And it's not just about the physical beauty, because what did I say when you came on? That smile, it lit up the room. It lights up the room. You are a star. You're a star that shines bright, and your vibration is high. And thank you. Thank you. Everybody, listen. Kecia J is going to come back for another episode. Please make sure you follow her, buy her books. I am Kecia J on Instagram, which is where I found her. And hopefully she will come back and bless us with more, because I have so many more questions to ask you. I want to talk about autism. I want to talk about the cancer more. I want to talk about your books more. I want to talk about everything more with you.
Yes. Whenever you want me to, I'm going to make it happen.
All right. That sounds good. Everyone, please make sure you like this episode, share this episode. I want to get 2,000 likes on this episode on YouTube. Make it happen. My name is Marcos Luis, Marcos Luis. The show is One Mic Night, ONEMICNITE. Thank you for joining me for this episode. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.